All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to talk about a really specific and honestly super common pain that a lot of people feel but have no idea what to call. It's all about something called Piriformis syndrome.
So, let me ask you something. Have you ever had that deep, nagging pain, right in your buttock that just will not go away? The kind that feels like it's buried way down in there and it doesn't matter what you try, it's just there.
And does it get way worse when you're sitting down, like at your desk or in the car for a long time? But then maybe it eases up a bit when you get up and walk around or just lie down. If you're nodding along right now, well, you are in exactly the right place.
So let's get right to it. What is this literal pain in the butt? What are we actually talking about when we say piriformis syndrome?
Okay, so at its core, it's a neuromuscular thing. Basically, you've got this muscle deep in your buttock called the piriformis. When that muscle decides to spasm and get all tight, you feel pain. But here's the real kicker. Because of where it is, it can start to bug the sciatic nerve, which is right nearby. And that's when you get symptoms that feel almost exactly like sciatica.
All right, to really get this, we've got to meet the main culprit. It's time to introduce the star of our show, this small but super important muscle. So check this out. It's all about location, location, location. You've got the piriformis muscle. Its job is to help rotate your leg outward. And then you have the sciatic nerve. Think of it like this massive data cable that runs from your lower back, through your buttock, and all the way down your leg. Now here's the problem. For most of us, that little piriformis muscle sits right on top of that big sciatic nerve. So when the muscle gets tight and angry, bam, it's literally pinching the data cable. And that's what causes all that pain and weird nervy feelings down your leg.
But wait, it gets even crazier. For about 15% of people, and that's a decent chunk of the population, the setup is even more intimate. The sciatic nerve doesn't just go under the muscle, it actually pierces right through it. As you can imagine, if you're one of those people, your risk of this muscle squeezing that nerve is just naturally a bit higher. Okay, so what ticks this muscle off in the first place? Well, you can kind of break it down into two camps. First, there are the primary causes. That's the anatomical stuff, like the nerve running through the muscle. But honestly, what's way more common are the secondary causes. We're talking about things from everyday life. Maybe you took a nasty fall right on your backside, or you're a runner and it's just that repetitive microtrauma, and this is a big one, it could be as simple as sitting for too long, especially on a hard surface, or, with a big wallet in your back pocket.
So, if you're thinking, hey, this sounds like me, how does a doctor actually figure it out? Well, it's not as simple as one single test. It's actually a lot more like being a detective.
And this is the single most important thing to get about the diagnosis. It's what's called a diagnosis of exclusion. What does that mean? It means there's no magic blood test, no single MRI finding that screams you have piriformis syndrome. Instead, doctors have to rule everything else out first.
So, that detective work, it usually looks something like this. Step 1, they listen to your story. What you feel, when you feel it, what makes it better or worse. Step 2 is the physical exam. They'll actually poke around to find that tender spot in the muscle and do some specific stretches to see if they can trigger that familiar pain. And then, step 3, this is crucial. They'll often use imaging like an MRI, not to find piriformis syndrome, but to make sure it's not something else, like a herniated disc or an issue with your spine.
So, yeah, I'm going to say it again, because it's that important. There is no one single definitive test. It really all comes down to a good doctor doing a thorough exam and carefully ruling other things out. Okay, so let's talk about the good stuff. Let's say you've got the diagnosis. What now? What's the path to feeling better? And here's the great news. The outlook is actually really, really good. The truth is, most people with this condition do incredibly well with what's called conservative treatment. That just means non-surgical stuff. And the absolute cornerstone, the number one thing that helps, is physical therapy.
So what's a physical therapist actually trying to do? Well, the goals are pretty straightforward. First things first, just get the pain to calm down. Then, it's all about gently stretching out that tight piriformis muscle. But, and this is so important, it's not just about stretching. You also have to strengthen the other muscles around your hip and your core. Why? Because that builds a better support system, so the piriformis doesn't have to work so hard and get angry in the first place. It's about fixing the root of the problem.
You can see it's really a 1-2-3 punch. You use targeted stretches to tell that muscle to chill out and release tension. Then you build up the strength in your hips and core to create a solid, stable foundation. The whole idea is to rebalance your body so this doesn't just keep happening over and over again. And if you look at how this is usually managed, the numbers speak for themselves. I mean, look at that. A huge 75% of the strategy is physical therapy. Sure, medications can help take the edge off the pain, and sometimes injections are used. But the real long-term fix is getting active with the right exercises. Surgery? It's incredibly rare. We're talking like 2% of cases. It's an absolute last resort.
All right, let's bring it all home. What's the bottom line here? What are the key things you absolutely need to remember from all this?
If you take away just one thing, let it be this. A really good, thorough physical exam is everything. Because the symptoms can look like so many other problems. It's so easy for this to get missed. It gets overlooked all the time. But a good exam can catch it.
So to recap the big 3 points. Number 1, Piriformis syndrome is a very real thing, but the good news is it's totally treatable. Number 2, remember it's a diagnosis of exclusion, which just means you got to rule out other stuff first. And number 3, the best way to get better is almost always conservative care, especially those targeted stretches and strengthening exercises.
Man, that kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on, right? The piriformis is this one small little muscle that most people have never even heard of, but it can cause so much trouble. It really makes you wonder, what other small, seemingly insignificant parts of our bodies are out there holding a massive key to how we feel every day? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining me.